What's up, guys? This is Dennis in Greenville, South Carolina on a rainy Sunday afternoon. You're here in my garage with me. We just got the new seat from Rumble, Sur-Ron Rumble, and we're going to try and fit it on today. I got some walkthrough and a couple of guides to put out there for you as well, so stick with me as we get started. So what you all should have gotten, those of you who've gotten these seats, at least this is what I got in my package. It was a shipment from Rumble. It just came in a yellow mailer, bubble mailer. It contained the seat itself, these two brackets, the front bracket, the rear bracket, and some extra bolts here for this bracket to mount it actually to the bike, these two holes here. And then you have the actual charging port. We're not going to get into this today, but if you've got this stuff, you've got everything, should have everything you need according to Rumble, and we're going to put that to the test today. The one thing I didn't have is, and I had to go source from Home Depot or my local hardware store, was the bolts for these screws, or these seat screws. So I went to Home Depot. They do have, it's just an M6 bolt, so I found an M6, a couple of nuts and lock washers, and we're going to use those to secure the seat to the bike. So a couple of things you're going to need apart from what Rumble sent you, like I've already mentioned. You're going to need the M6 nuts to actually mount the seat to the seat mounts that they provided for you. And I've got some lock washers to go along with those. Just pick those up at your local hardware store, pretty cheap, not a huge purchase. Then you're also going to need two different Allen wrenches. I'm choosing to take the seat off the bike and the seat mount as well. I'm going to remove the seat mount because running underneath this seat mount is some electrical wiring for your turn indicators, rear indicators, and your brake light. And plus I have my Apple AirTag underneath here, so I'm just going to take it all off so that I can be sure when we're drilling here on the drill press that I'm not, endangering any of that stuff. You could use your typical, cordless hand drill. It might be a little difficult with the material that we're drilling through today. But then another thing you might want to have is a wax pen, I guess this is. A grease pen, there we go, a white grease pen. That'll work to actually make our mark on the metal, and then you're going to need some snips to take off the wire tie that actually keeps all that electrical work underneath here together. So if you have that, you're ready to go. We're going to go over here to the bike. I'm going to show you how to take off the seat, just to go through that for those who might not know, and we'll get rocking here. So come on over. I'll explain a little bit about this later on, but we got the seat to remove. So I've already kind of went through and dry fitted a lot of this stuff. So under the seat, the current seat is mounted with just 4 bolts. You'll need, like I said, you'll need the Allen wrench for that. You'll break these 4 screws. I've already removed the 2 from the other side. There's these 2. And then once that's done, your seat comes off pretty easily. And then you've just got your bracket. And what I've created, I'll walk it over here. I've created a printout for you with a template that you can lay right across this bracket. I chose to cut one out. This is just what you'll get. You might want to take some scissors and cut it out. And then I'm going to take this and lay it right over here, and it shows us where we should drill our holes. One here right in the center of this bracket, one here, and then one in the rear, right at the very rear. So when we're done, hopefully, we'll have those holes drilled. We'll have the new seat brackets attached to this to modify our old bracket, and then we'll be able to mount the seat to the new seat configuration. So that's what we're going to try for. So to take the rest of this off, I'm going to need to take these bolts here. There's 2, and I didn't pre-do these, so it's going to take me just a minute to get these all off. And then there's 2 on the other side as well, identical to these. And this should let the electronics, let this whole tag mount, brake lights, all that go free. All right, there we go. Then we've got this wire cable, wire tie right here, kind of holding the electrical cord in. Let's take that out, lay it off to the side or the back for now. Then we've got 3 bolts to get the bracket off. We've got this one on the top, one on either side. So let me get the right tool for the job. And we'll pop these off. soon as you break the tension on that last one, it wants to fall, so be ready for that. And with any luck, there's our seat bracket. There's my air tag. All right, so now we're prepared to take this over to the press. I'm just going to take my template that I took off earlier. This is the front. This is the part that goes towards the front of the bike, towards the front, towards the rear. So you mark this front and rear, and you basically just set it on there. It doesn't have to be exact. You kind of just want to center it up. And I'm going to take my, what's important here is that you do get it straight on the bracket so that your seat doesn't sit cockeyed, and that you make your marks. I'm not even going to tape this on. I'm just going to hold this here and make my marks. So I've already punched the holes through the paper. Just make sure I'm lined up. And lastly, right here, what's important is that you keep the paper, these holes, that's the important thing, the distance between these holes. We've got 1 3/4 inches between the front and back hole. And then from the middle hole to the very, very rear, you got another 7 inches. So 8 3/4 inches on center from your front hole to your furthest, to the rear hole. So now what we're gonna do is drill those out. Hopefully that made marks properly. It did. We're gonna pop these on the drill press and drill our holes. All right, so I've made a mistake. As you can see, my hole is not directly lined up. So what I'm gonna do to try and compensate for that is probably just offset the seat just a slight bit. It looks like when I marked my hole, I wasn't dead center. So what you may wanna do is just double check your holes. Don't make my mistake. After you've marked your hole, double check it and make sure that you're actually drilling straight down through. I gotta readjust this. So, as I drill my next holes, I'm going to make sure I go off center just slightly, and we're going to see how bad it looks once I get it on there. And you guys can learn from my mistakes. So you're welcome. So, with any luck, a whole lot of praying and probably some cursing, we're going to try and mount this guy now. All right, so we're going to take this and put it on the bike now. Okay, so if I haven't screwed myself up too badly with drilling the holes, especially this rear hole, I haven't done anything to try and remediate that. I'm going to see what it looks like and see how much tolerance is in this setup. It's probably going to look awful, but we'll see. But basically, you have these two brackets. This is your front bracket. This goes towards the front of the bike. It's going to ride something like this. All right, your two holes up here that we drilled are going to line up, hopefully. And you're going to mount them there, and then this one goes in the back and the rear like this, and your seat will sit inside these brackets if all goes well and the stars align. So I'm going to start. Let me see if I can find it right. Here it is. Let's see how this is going to turn out. All right, and I'm not going to cinch that down just yet. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of play just to see if I can get the mount to actually, the seat to sit in the mount. All right, move your wire out of the way underneath. Then you're going to need nuts on these. This is where I think I might run into a little bit of trouble because I saw that it doesn't look like they lined up perfectly when I dry fit it just then. So we're gonna try and see what happens. Actually, it's not that bad. I did a pretty good job. Shouldn't have doubted myself. All right, so I believe I'll be able to get this all on. Seeing it from underneath is tough because your wire is literally right there. So what I may have to do is get it started with fingers, then use the tool. There we go. Come on. It may have been easier to put these brackets on with the these modifying brackets on with the seat bracket actually off. So take that into consideration as you start your project. All right. Let's see. This is 1 second. These I have to go ahead and tighten down because once this seat is actually on, I won't have access to these nuts, I don't think. And that's going to be a tricky one. Yeah, I think I'm going to be forced to take it back off actually because I can't get the tool into this nut, or with this bolt, I don't think. So just a second, let me double check that. Yeah, I will not. So I may have to pop these back off. Okay, I wanted to stop and show you guys what I had to do. Ultimately, I had to take this bracket back off the bike. There may be other ways to do it, but the way I found to do it is actually take the bracket back off the bike and go ahead and put in this first bolt right here. Not the one that puts the mount on the bike, but the first bolt into the adapter bracket. With it off the bike, you have great access there and you can just tighten it down. But then the problem was when I went to put this back on, of course I've got this bracket now makes this go in at such an angle that there's no way to get it in properly. So before you drop it down on the bike, go ahead and start your bolt. There you go. And now you can actually get an Allen wrench in there, and you have to work with it, but you can get the thread started and you can get it cinched all the way down. So I'm gonna get all this buttoned up. We'll come right back to you.
Rolling.
All right, so everything's dry fit now. I've got the kinks worked out. Let me go ahead and tell you, this was probably this bolt underneath here. If you want to come in closer, this bolt was the most difficult, challenging part of the whole assembly. Once this is put on, I took this bracket back off, completely took the bracket back off, mounted this first hole, this first bolt, and then you can see how tight of a fit that is. So what we did is we slid the bolt, we lifted the bracket up with this attached. All of this was assembled. We lifted the bracket back up, slid the bolt down in. That gave us the space to slide it all the way down in. And then if you don't have a short Allen wrench like this, you're probably going to need to make yourself one. Cut one of your own if you have the ability to do that. But a standard size Allen wrench it doesn't have the clearance in here to work with the bolt to actually screw it down. And even with this as it was, we were getting quarter turns at a time, trying to get that all the way in, but we did get it in. I haven't fully screwed down the seat bracket yet, but I did want to show you, there is a small gap. If you can look real closely right in here, there's a small gap where this part does not meet the frame. I don't know if Rumble had intended for us to cut these brackets right here, the original brackets, off. I don't think it's necessary. This is very solid. There's no play, no give in it. It's a pretty solid bracket. This one back here seemed to go on with no trouble. And then you can see it's still a little, you got to work with it just a little bit. But if you can see underneath here, I don't know if you can see where my eyes are looking at, but these bolts back here, I slide those in first, and then I had to take up here on these bolts. I had to take a hammer and I had to bend this down just a little bit. It was over bent to where it was bending up just a little bit, and it caused a bind on the threads of the bolts. So all I did was just tapped it down once or twice to get the right bend in there, and now I can dry fit this seat pretty well. It's still, I could probably take another tap on with the hammer, but once I get the rear in, I just line up the front holes, and it sits right down in there. And so now I'm gonna tidy everything up, tighten down all the bolts, and I'm gonna take her for a ride. I'm glad finally got it on. If you look at it from behind, you can tell, I was honest with you, I didn't drill 100% properly on that first drill. I mislined a hole. But if you look at it from the rear, it lines up perfectly. It's got a lot of tolerance in it. It's not catty cornered or anything. It's definitely in line with the bike. So it looks pretty good. It's bound to feel better than that old Ballbuster seat. So good luck. If you have any questions, I'm going to put a download link to the template that I created. It's a PDF form. You can print it. You can cut it out yourself. It'll show you exactly where you want to drill your holes. If you know of a better way to do this, feel free to share it with the community. I'm not a mechanic by any stretch. I work in IT on computers, but I was able to fashion this for the community for now, and it gets the seats on the bikes and rideable. So good luck, happy riding.